Eugenio Derbez, welcome to Bullseye. I'm so happy to have you on the show.
No, thanks for having me. And by the way, you are one of the few Americans that pronounce my name perfectly.
Can I tell you the truth?
Yeah.
I was looking for video of you doing comedy in Mexico. And I went on to one of the popular video websites. I shan't say which one it is, but it was that one. And one of the shorts was just called Gringos Try to Pronounce Eugenio Derbez. And I was like, uh-oh. I don't want to end up in part 2.
That's funny. I didn't know that existed.
I was terrified. It really put the fear of God in me. I was really I better get my act together. So,
no, I don't care. I truly don't care because I know it's difficult and nobody has, they don't have to know my name or how to pronounce it. So it's okay. You can, I always say that you can call me Eugene. That is Eugenio in Spanish. So Gene, Eugene, Eugenio.
Well, in elementary school Spanish class, my name was Chuy. So you're welcome to call me that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Jesse, Jesus, Chuy. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. It's a short road.
Okay, Chuy.
As I was watching Acapulco, one of the things that I was thinking about was the way that you write to multiple languages. Years ago, I interviewed some folks from Los Spookies. And one of the things that they had to do to make a show in Spanish for an English-speaking audience was write, and that show was mostly, but not totally in Spanish, was write English language subtitles with writers. Like the writers on the show were writing the subtitles in addition to writing the Spanish language dialogue. Like rather than just translating them, they had writers writing them.
Yes.
How did you approach that on Acapulco?
It's exactly what you said. People think that it's just a matter of putting subtitles and translate to the other language, but that's not the way it works. I learned that when I moved here and I started doing movies that are bilingual. The first thing that I did just before of Acapulco was a movie called How to Be a Latin Lover. And I had a huge fight with the director because the movie was written in English, but in Spanish, I was supposed to do the translation to Spanish. And I was like, this is not funny in Spanish. And then I gave the director an option. I was like, this is funny. And he was like, what does that mean? I was like, it means this, blah, 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 blah. He was like, that's not funny in English. So we were always fighting that. This is not funny in Spanish, but I need to say it in Spanish. And he was like, yeah, but if we subtitle it, it's going to be funny in English. So we were fighting so bad that we ended up deciding that. If I'm talking in Spanish, I will write it so I can make it funny in Spanish. And then we can subtitle your joke in English, even if it's a different thing, completely different line. And that's what we did.
What's an example of a joke like that was written in Spanish and didn't work in English or the other way around?
I'm going to put an example that I just remembered with Shrek, because I'm Donkey's voice in Shrek 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm Donkey's voice. And I did for first time ever in Latin America, I did the adaptation of the script from English to Spanish. And I remember there's a line where they are torturing the ginger cookie.
Do you know the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man.
Yes, I know the Muffin Man. Who lives on Drury Lane?
Well, she's married to the Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man!
That I think it's a kid's song or something here.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that? And they were like, it's a kid's song or whatever. And then I completely translate to Spanish song es Pimpón es un muñeco muy guapo y de cartón.
¿Tú conoces a Pimpón?
¿A Pimpón?
Sí, Pimpón.
Sí, es un muñeco muy guapo y de cartón.
Sí, se lava su carita con agua y con jabón.
¿Con agua y con jabón?
Sí, se lava la carita.
So it's completely different, but you can't imagine how many laughs it gets because people in Spanish understand much better that song than the original one. That's an example. It's a completely different line because it's a different song, but the purpose of the writer, that is to mock the song, is what is important.
I've seen the Toy Story movies in Spanish many times for complicated reasons that have to do with buying the wrong DVD. But and small children not caring what language the movie they're watching is in. Like the Toy Story movies are funny and wonderful, of course, but they're plot and character driven in a way that is not that culturally specific, and the performances aren't that culturally specific. Like, as wonderful as, Tim Allen is as a comedian, you can imagine the Tim Allen of another country performing that role with essentially the same dialogue.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy is one of the funniest people ever, but he is so culturally specific.
Yes.
Like, leave aside the fairy tale part, which is also very culturally specific, but like Eddie Murphy as a guy lives in a specific world of Eddie Murphy-ness.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Absolutely. And you know what? For some reason, the donkey feels more Mexican. So I hope you can once switch to Spanish, Shrek, and you'll be surprised because I feel that the voice of the donkey in Spanish fits better because I feel that the donkeys are Mexican, basically. So it sounds more Mexican in Spanish.
You grew up with a mother who had been an actor, right? Was she working when you were a kid?
Yes. She was the soap opera queen. She was probably the most popular actress on television when I was a kid. Yeah.
And that explains why you're too handsome to be funny.
Thank you. Yeah, but she was like a soap opera queen. She was in every single telenovela. And back then we just had like 3 or 4 channels in Mexico, Open TV. And so my mom was really popular. And so I was born in, and my classmates were always asking me, how do you feel that your mom is on TV? It should be exciting. I was like, well, for me, it's like natural, normal.
Did you always intend to go into show business yourself?
Yes. I remember that I loved going to sets with my mom. Every time I had a day off at school, I didn't want to go to my dad's office because it was full of desks and I didn't get it. I always wanted to go to the television sets with my mom, and I was always asking her, can I be part of the, if there was a train or a bank or whatever, what was people involved, I was like, Mom, can I be an extra in this scene? I was always asking her for that. So I really wanted to be an actor since I was a kid.
Was actor specifically what you wanted to be?
Yes. Because I was fascinated by my mom. My mom, she was so committed to her job that I remember once she was going to do a telenovela where she was going to play a maid that was literally she came from a small town. She was like an indigenous, and then she ended up marrying the boss. So she went for a week. I remember that we dropped her off in the middle of nowhere because she wanted to learn how to walk barefoot, and then she wanted to learn how to speak the dialect there. So she was really committed. So I was always like in awe every time I saw her crying. Actually, there's a myth that she was able to cry with either with her left or right eye, depending on where the camera was. Yeah, you can Google it. It's there.
Se va a poner bien, ¿verdad?
Desgraciadamente no podemos saberlo. Precisamente vengo a avisarle que Mariana está en estado de coma.
¡Ay, no! Amy está en coma. Dios mío, no puede ser. No puede ser.
She has this amazing ability to cry at any moment, any second, with both eyes. So she was really, really good at it. And I wanted to be an actor, but I wanted to be a dramatic actor. I never wanted to be a comedian, ever. It was not in my radar. It was until I was 27 that someone hired me for a show, like a kind of a sketch show, when I realized that I was funny. But before that, I just wanted to be a dramatic actor like my mom.
You just wanted to walk barefoot and speak Quiche or whatever?
Exactly. That's what I wanted.
Were you a serious person? Is that why? Were you pretentious? Were you a pretentious young man?
Yes, I was pretentious probably because I was funny. That's what I was. I remember that I was funny, but I never made the link between, I'm funny, but probably because of my mom, I was like, if I want to be an actor, I have to be a dramatic, serious actor and take this really, really, I had to commit to be serious, to I didn't relate comedy in my life to comedy in my work. So until I was 27 and I realized that I was funny, kind of funny.
How would you describe what's different between the comedy on television in Mexico and the United States?
Oh my God, it's completely different. It's insane. And in Mexico, and I would say in Latin America, no, I would say in Spanish, but even if you watch Univision, for example, here in the US, if you turn to the television shows, you'll see that comedy is really different. Everything is broad, big, loud. And here in the US, everything's contained, grounded, real. So I remember when I came to this country for the first time, I made a big mistake. In Mexico, even though the style is broad and big, I was doing a show that for Mexico, it was broad. Like a live cartoonish show that is very, very popular. You can ask any Latino in the US and they know Familia Peluche. It's like it's a show about a dysfunctional family.
Familia peluches todos, veremos cuánto tiempo van a soportar. Hey. Hey. Eres un insecto y hueles mal. Tú eres la tarada que yo quiero más. Eres un gusano triste y infeliz. Delante de los niños no me digas así. No soy un insecto.
And I was very proud of Familia Peluche because it's very popular in all Latin America. So I came here. I used to show my demo with Familia Peluche to all the producers and directors. Of course, no one hired me. They were like, what the hell is this? It was over the top, extremely broad. So every time when I finally got hired here in the US and I started doing my own productions, directors were doing a lot of research and they found Familia Peluche. So when I got to set, they were always ask me, no, don't move your face. Don't move your eyebrows. Don't move nothing. Don't move anything. So I had to to retrain my face, my muscles in order not to move nothing to make comedy here, because here it's completely different. Everything is contained, grounded. So it's been a trip.
I think Acapulco is a little bit of a hybrid in terms of tone and style, in addition to being multilingual, not because the performances are super broad, but the way the show is presented, like it is the most plot-driven comedy I've ever seen on American television, for example. And that's much more Latin American than it is from the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's right. That's exactly what you said. And we're trying to find the balance because we have to please both audiences. And for some reason, I'm not kidding. The numbers that they gave me about the ratings of the show, we have more fans in the general market and more Americans loving the show than Latinos. So I'm in awe. Every time I go to the park with my daughter, every time I see an American, I always bet my kids or my family. When I see an American watching me, I'm like, that guy is going to ask me if I'm the guy from Acapulco. You'll see. And it always happens. You're the guy from, I say, Acapulco. Yeah. And they know me for Acapulco. And Latinos, they don't mention Acapulco ever. They talk about my movies or my TV shows or whatever. But so it's really funny. And I think that Acapulco is like the perfect mix.
Eugenio, you were one of the biggest stars in all of Latin America. And you decided to come to the United States in your 40s.
Yeah.
You're not someone who, was 25 and somebody said, hey, this kid is hot. Let's put him into American show business. You were a guy who had a full career in Latin America that you could have just continued.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just stay?
Since I was a kid, because my mom and I were in love with show business, every single week we went to the movie theaters and we watched 3 or 4 movies a day. I mean, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I just fell in love with movies, with Hollywood. I watched the Oscars since I was a kid. I loved watching the Oscars. So I have this obsession with Hollywood. And then I started working in Mexico. I had a very successful career finally, and I forgot about my dream. And it was until my mom passed away when I was 42 years old, when just 2 weeks after my mom died, someone from an agency in the U.S. Called me. I always say that it was my mom from heaven telling me, remember that you have a dream, go for it. And that day, when I was 42 and I received that call, I said, wow, of course, I had a dream. And that day, I took the yellow pages and started looking for English lessons because I just had the basics. That's why my English is a little bit broken, because I'm still learning. And I started learning English, and I started flirting with Hollywood and trying to get into the, movies or series or whatever. But it was until I was 52 when I finally did a movie that opened me all the doors in Hollywood, a movie called Instructions Not Included, that I directed, starred, and produced, and co-wrote. And that movie became the highest grossing Spanish language film ever worldwide. And that's when my agents and my managers and everyone was like, it's now or never. And I remember that I told, my production, my everyone in Mexico, I think I'm going to go to the US and start from scratch. And everyone was like, are you crazy? I mean, you have everything here. You are the biggest comedian in Mexico. Your shows are number one here. Are you going to shut down your career and go to US and start from scratch? And I said yes. And I did it. And everyone was against it because I was 52 and they were like, and you have kids.
Bad idea.
It was a bad idea. But for some reason, I felt inside of me, my excitement was so big that I was like, I don't care if I fail. I need to try.
So before Instructions Not Included, were you flying to Los Angeles and, auditioning in pilot season alongside other, handsome Latino 48-year-olds for the job of dad on a CBS drama?
Yeah, I was constantly flying from Mexico to LA for example, before Instructions Included, I did a Jack and Jill with Adam Sandler.
This is my friend Jill. Hi. That's my father, my mama, my brother Juan, my other brother Juan, Juan Jr., my sister Juanita, my grandma Juangelina, and that... I'm kidding.
I was gonna say, that's a lot of Juan.
I end up marrying Adam Sandler in that movie. I played two characters there, the gardener and the grandma. I did a Broadway play at the Helen Hayes Theater. So after I tried television, theater on Broadway and movies, and nothing happened, that's when I said, okay, I tried. I'm going back to Mexico and I'm going to do my movies and my TV shows, etc. So I quit the American dream. I did my movie, Instructions Not Included, in Mexico. Boom, exploded. And that's when I got this call that it's now or never. And that's when I said, okay, I'm going to go for it, but now not from Mexico. I'm going to move to the US. And that's when I decided to.
Why did you decide to go from that to making movies that were in both English, movies and television that were in both English and Spanish? Why do both at the same time?
Because when I finally came to Hollywood and doors opened after Instructions Not Included, everyone wanted me to reply the success of Instructions Not Included. And they were like, okay, let's do another Spanish language film. And I was like, no, I'm not moving to the US to keep doing the things that I was doing in Mexico. I'm moving to the US because I want to conquer another audience. So I want to do English-speaking movies or shows. And everyone was like freaking out, like, wait, because you didn't have an audience in the US. So we came up with this idea. Well, okay, let's do this bilingual thing so I can have my core audience. I can please my core audience. But at the same time, I'm trying to get new fans and a new audience into the movie theaters. That's why I started doing this bilingual movies like How to Be a Latin Lover, Overboard, The Ballet, etc., Acapulco, because we wanted to please my audience, but at the same time we wanted to open a new path for a new audience.
Were you more interested in conquering the United States as a producer / director / star, or were you more interested in conquering the United States as an, I don't mean this in a rude way, but like as an artist? Like, did you want to be as successful a business person, as successful as a show business guy as you had been in Mexico, or did you want to do a different thing in the United States?
I feel that at the beginning I wanted to be same as in Mexico. I wanted to, and that was probably my ego. I wanted to be in front of the camera. I wanted to be the because in Mexico I do everything. I always like I'm an actor, producer, director, writer. I'm involved in all the process. But here in the U.S., when I moved to the U.S., I just started acting because I didn't know the humor in the U.S. I was afraid of making mistakes. I always thought, I don't know what they laugh at in the U.S., so it doesn't translate, so I'm not going to write or direct. I'm just going to act and produce. And lately, I think or I feel I'm ready to be more behind the scenes, behind cameras. And so right now, I'm more interested on producing than starring on front of the cameras.
Was part of the appeal of coming to the United States not just the new challenge, but also the relief of being somewhere where you weren't one of the most famous people?
Yeah, that's a great question. I enjoyed so much, and I still enjoy so much when I'm able to walk in the streets. I cannot do that in Mexico. That depends of the neighborhood, but mostly I can't. I'm always like in the car, and I go from my house, car, restaurant, back. But I cannot walk. Here in the U.S., I can walk. I can go anywhere. There's always Latinos that know me, but it's I can have a more like a normal life, and I enjoy that very, very much. I like it, honestly.
How much of the time do you live here in Los Angeles, and how much of the time are you in Mexico City?
Well, I've been living in LA for the last 11 years already. And I go to Mexico like probably, depends. Because last year I shot a series in Mexico, and I was living there for 3 or 4 months. But normally I go to Mexico probably once a month, and I go for 3-4 days, no more than that. So I spend like probably a month in Mexico, usually a year.
What do you miss most about Mexico when you're in LA?
The food, the people also. We're more relaxed. There are pros and cons, but we're more relaxed. We're not that, especially, the driving in Mexico City, you need to fight for your space in Mexico City. So my wife is constantly lecturing me, like, nah, you don't drive like a Mexican. She's always telling me, here comes the Mexican. Come on, cut the line. Do this. She's always complaining because she says that I still drive like a Mexican in LA. But and in Mexico, I feel that I belong there when I'm driving, at least. So I miss the people. I miss the food, and sometimes the weather too. Things
have changed a lot for Mexicans living in the United States and Mexican Americans in the time that you have lived in Los Angeles. How do you experience that? I presume when you came, you probably got an O1 visa, right? Like that's like person of extraordinary ability, or I can't remember what it's called exactly.
Yes,
but it's like it's like if you're a famous cinematographer, you can come live and work in the United States, or if you're a famous nuclear scientist, you can come live and work in the United States with an O1 visa.
Yeah.
But obviously most people who come from Mexico to the United States don't have access to that. What has it been like for you to watch the ways that the lives of particularly first-generation Mexicans living in the United States have changed over the last 11 years?
It's a completely different city now. That's why I feel. I was always every time everyone asked me how do you feel in LA, I was like, I love it. It's a great city. But I feel that in the last couple of years, especially after COVID, probably, it's another city. And regarding to my people, well, for the last month, it's been crazy. LA feels like a ghost town compared to what it was a month ago. And I remember the last 2 weekends, I've been like going to malls or parks, and it's empty. It's lacking life and soul because LA is full of immigrants, and now they're scared. They don't want to go out. And the worst part is that they are just picking up good people, hardworking people that are working for the U.S., that are making America great, and they're just like sending them back to a country that is not longer their country, where they don't have a family anymore because their families are in the U.S. So it's really sad.
As someone who was able to get residency in the United States through very unusual circumstances, right? Most people don't have the chance to say at their, head down to the consulate and say, hey, I'm the most famous comic actor in Mexico. I'd like to come to the United States, right? I think you're in a sort of a unique position to express on behalf of the people who didn't have that opportunity what it means to be in the United States and why people come to the United States. I think some folks in the United States, native-born citizens, might think like, oh, well, Eugenio did it the right way. He did it legally. Other people did it illegally, so they're criminals. What is where does that argument fall down for you?
There's a big difference between being a criminal and just not having your paperwork in order. Sometimes you're missing a paper, or some people that I know, they're just afraid of going to the consulate or trying to, because they've been working for a year or two without papers, and then they continue working like that until this happens. But that doesn't make them criminals. And I feel that they love this country as much as they love their own. And some of them even more, because as I told you before, when they deport these people and they go back to their countries, they don't know that country anymore. Their country is the U.S. Jesse, we need to understand as a society that this is wrong. What they're doing right now is exactly what we see in the movies when we're watching the Nazis. Remember those scenes in the movies where you see the Nazis knocking at the door and the Jews hiding in a basement or in a closet? It's exactly the same thing. And it's unbelievable that we are living the same thing nowadays and nobody's doing anything. It is insane.
Well, Eugenio, thank you so much for taking all this time to talk to me. It was really nice to meet you and really nice to get to talk to you. I sure enjoyed watching Acapulco as well.
Thank you. Thank you very, very, very much for this time, for having me finally here. And yeah, watch Acapulco. That it's on Apple TV Plus. Family friendly. You can watch it with the entire family. You're going to have a lot of fun.